Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike with the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we're bringing you issue 76 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine. This issue came with part 2 of the Mortis Engine that we've been building, so not all the parts yet, but we will see its build instructions in this issue, which you can have a look at in a moment, but if you want to just skip straight to the battle report, then you can do that as well using the timecode in the description or the chapter bars. First in the issue, we learn a little bit about the Ideneth Deepkin, who we've encountered before, but there's more background of them here. They were created by the god Teclis from elven souls siphoned out of the Chaos god Slaanesh when he was imprisoned, but it didn't quite go to plan, and most of them are born without souls, which is a bit inconvenient for them. Teclis tried to destroy them, so they fled and hid in the dark and deep places of the mortal realms, like the depths of seas and underneath lava flows and in the realm of fire. And then they have their own network of things called worldways, which function like realm gates. Their society has 3 different castes. The Isharan are all spellcasters of one sort or another who have specific roles in their society. The Achelian are the warrior caste, who fight, often mounted on terrifying sea creatures, whereas the Namati make up the majority of the Ideneth. They are born without souls. The Ideneth society is structured around stealing souls from other factions in order to give their souls to the Namati, although even then they don't live very long. Now we learn about the Tempestors, Stormcast Eternals. These are more of the heavy Dracothian Guard cavalry. These are armed with volley storm crossbows. They subject their enemies to a constant hail of bolts, although they're also dangerous in melee. Although they're also very powerful in melee, using their warblades. Then we have background the Great Parch in the Realm of Fire during the Age of Sigmar. This is about Sigmar's first forays into the mortal realms in the Age of Sigmar, sending the Hammers of Sigmar into the Realm of Fire to reclaim it from the forces of Khorne. How the Realm of Fire became Sigmar's first foothold in the mortal realms, having opened the gates of Aesir. Then we have a short story about some of the denizens of Greywater Fastness, one of the cities in the Realm of Life. Some of the ordinary mortals who live there, like the Duardin humans and elves that you can see at the bottom. They encounter some of the forces of Nurgle in the swamps around that city. And we have the build instructions for the Mortis Engine. As I said, we don't actually have all the parts for it yet. The more come in the next issue and then the base in the final one, but we've got the build guide now because it's quite extensive, and then the painting guide in the following issue. There's a lot of parts to this model, and it suggests making a number of sub-assemblies that it shows here because it will make the whole thing much easier to paint. So starting off putting together the spectral cavalry that sort of pull the thing, and then there's an awful lot of spooky bits and other things. So you just have to follow these instructions carefully. There's a dais which will have the necromancer mounted on it, and a number of banshees that sort of swirl around it. But again, it suggests keeping it not stuck together so that you can paint it more easily. And actually finally here, it suggests putting some adhesive putty over the points of contact where these will be put together so that you don't get paint on them while painting it. But that's it for the build instructions for this. We'll be painting it in the following issue. But this issue also came with a fold-out insert dedicated to Kragnos, the End of Empires, the god of earthquakes, who is one of the ancient creatures known as the Drogruck, who rose to become a powerful warlord and eventually took on the race of the Draconiths, mighty dragon-like sorcerers, but eventually he was defeated and imprisoned, but recent events in the Mortal Realms have set him free again, and he's now become a sort of... And on the other side, we have a map of Gur, the realm of beasts, with various places of interest noted, including Beastgrave, which is subject to the same curse as Shadespire, and Excelsis, the City of Secrets, one of the free cities of Sigmar. Anyway, that's it for the contents of this issue, so now I'll hand you over to Mike, where we'll be getting into our game.
Well, no new War Scrolls yet, still haven't finished the Mortis Engine, but we do have a tactics tutorial for magic, and this is just some advice on considering the order in which you cast spells, maybe casting on less important or less dangerous spells first to try and tempt out unbinds. And then on the next page, since you are meant to be able to see your opponent's army list, you should take a note of what spells look the most dangerous, so you remember to save unbind attempts for them. So here, the one is saving his unbind for the Knight Incantor's Spirit Storm rather than the Lord Arcanum's Healing Surge. And then down the bottom it just goes over how bonuses to casting and unbinding abilities go. So you've got Reichenor's plus bonuses from his Corpse Candles. Master of the Black Arts gives, if you give it to someone who's already a wizard, they get +1 to the casting and unbinding rolls. And Knight Incantors have their Voice Storm Scroll, which is an auto unbind. And a little short story to get into today's scenario. This is from the point of view of a Krell, the Necromancer, who has promised the Nighthaunt he would build them a Mortis Engine, and is nearing completion, but he just needs to try and channel some of the power from the Purple Sun that's been roving about Batar for a while, so that he can bind that into the Mortis Engine and power it up. Obviously the Stormcast are going to try and stop that happening. So now we have our strategic overview. You can see in the middle there is the site where the Purple Sun is, where both forces are trying to harness it. And then down in the south, near Rexar, the Stormcast have been trying to tunnel into the forge, but have encountered some Skaven who have the same plan. And the embattled Stormcast forces have been trying to send riders out to get reinforcements from Hammerhall. And we have our army lists, pretty much the same for the Nighthaunt, although the Stormcast is going to be missing some things like Knave Black Talon and the Lord Ordinator and the Ballista and things like that, and Judicators as well. And we can have today's battle plan, Balance of Power. So you have the 4 boards set up at the bottom there, with an objective in the top right and bottom left battle mat, and then each player's territory is sort of the bottom right and top left corners. Obviously takes place on the Realm of Fire. Now we're using 4 pieces of terrain from the collection as usual, and the Nighthaunt player begins sitting up first. We have a new thing here, Channel Death, which represents both sides trying to harness the Purple Sun, and this means that each wizard on the battlefield knows the Channel Death spell, which has a casting value of 5, and if you successfully cast it you gain a victory point. And since it is a spell, we are going to assume you can only try to cast it once per turn, and it can be unbound as normal. We also get a victory point for each objective we control at the end of our turns, and whoever has the most victory points by the end of the 5th battle round wins. And for our armies we have 4 hero choices and 5 troops choices each. So we'll go have a quick look at the armies we've picked, and get the board set up and get into the game. We'll have a look at the Stormcast army first.
So for my 4 hero choices, we've got the Lord Arcanamon Dracoline, who counts as 2, Zandra Azabolt, a Knight in Cantor, and the Lord Exorcist. Bring in 3 wizards, because casting that spell is going to be important in this game. My general will be the Lord Arcanum. He's going to have the Tenacious Command trait for an extra wound, and the Phoenix Stone to let him heal himself without needing to use any spells to do so. And my 5 troops choices are 2 units of 5 Secretors, unit of 3 Vanguard Raptors with long strike crossbows, and then 2 choices Evocators on Celestial Dracolines for another wizard and unbind as well. And I also won the previous game, so I get a triumph, and I rolled off for that and got the one which allows me to re-roll wound rolls once per game.
And here's my Nighthaunt army. So for my hero choices, I've got a Spirit Torment, the Guardian of Souls, and Reikenor the Grimhaler, who's also part of a Shroudguard battalion with 2 units of Bladegheists. Then I have a unit of Chainghast, a unit of Dreadscythe Harridans, and a unit of Hexwraiths to fill out my troops choices. I'm going to make the Spirit Torment my general, and he's going to have Master of Black Arts, so effectively I have 3 wizards. I'm also going to give him the Black Amulet, and I'll also give the Guardian of Souls the Cloak of Mists and Shadows, because I get an extra one from my Warskull battalion. So finished playing, but I'll do a quick overview on the battlefield. So over here on the left we've got a mystical Azerite ruin next to the objective there in the bottom left. Along the centre line we have a damned Stormbolt, and up at the top an inspiring Fallen Sigmar head, and then we have the deadly Time-worn ruins on the right with the objective just in there behind them at the top right. Having a look at my deployment for the Nighthaunt. On my left flank I have the Harridans, and I have 1 unit of Bladegheists with the Spirit Torment and Guardian of Souls behind them. The other unit of Bladegheists with Reikenor behind them, and then the Chainghast possibly hidden behind him. And right on my far right flank are the Hexwraiths. And there you can see the Stormcast deployment.
So from the left, as you see it, we've got 1 unit of Secretors with the Lord Exorcist. The other unit of Secretors in the middle, with Zandra Azabolt, the Knight in Cantor in the middle, and then next to her, the Vanguard Raptors. And finally over on the far right, the Lord Arcanum, and then the 2 Evocators and Dracolines.
So I'm starting with the command point for my Warskull battalion, and we're rolling off for the first battle round.
Well, I won the roll-off, and I think I'll go first.
So we're heading into Stormcast turn 1.
So starting with some spells, while the Nighthaunt are far too far away to unbind. We'll do the Lord Exorcist first, trying to do the objective spell, the
Channel Death.
Channel Death, so he needs a 5, gets an 8, so that I gain a victory point. Then the Evocators on Dracolines will try and cast Empower on themselves, needing a 6, they get that with a 9. And the Lord Arcanum will try and cast Mystic Shield on them, he gets that with a 9, so they're Mystic Shield and Empower. And Zandria might as well try and cast Spirit Storm just because... No, fails that. And then in the movement phase, everything ran, because I'm miles away from anything. So over here on the left, the Lord Exorcist and the Secretors have run around this side of the building, heading for the objective down here. In the middle of the board, the other Secretors and Zandria both rolled 6s, so they get nice and far up, and then the Vanguard Raptors following behind. They were not really in range to shoot anything, so they ran as well. And finally, over towards the other objective, the Evocators and Lord Arcanum also ran, and getting 1 Evocator within range of the objective. So that will be enough to take it at the end of my turn and gain a victory point. There's no shooting or charging.
So we're on to Nighthaunt turn 1, where I gain a command point go up to 2, and you can see the Stormcast have 2 victory points already. And for spellcasting, Actually, the Guardian of Souls I'll do first, and he'll try and cast Mystic Shield. Needing a 5. Gets it with a 6.
I'll let you have that.
Okay. And then the Spirit Torment's going to try and cast Channel Death, needing a 5. Gets it with a 10.
I will try and unbind that with the Lord Arcanum, needing an 11 though. Nope.
So I gain a victory point. And that'll be it for spellcasting, because I don't think Lycan's going to be in range of anything. So, going over my movement, starting here in the middle, I've got basically my entire army ran. So the Harridans and 1 unit of Blade Guys moving up the middle, with the Guardian of Souls and Spirit Torment behind them, who would basically swap places. And then over there, you can see I put Mystic Shield on the Hex Wraiths, and they ran. They can get 3 of them in range of the objective where they are. So I'll take that at the end of the turn. Rykonor and the other unit of Blade Guys are coming with them, and the Chain Guards are following up behind to project the Spirit Torment's aura over there. That'll be it for my turn, because everything ran, I can't shoot or charge. And I gain control of that top right objective, gaining a victory point, and so we're up to 2 victory points apiece. I'm rolling off battle round 2. Now I won the roll off, and I will choose to go first, so we're into Nighthaunt turn 2. So for spell casting, going to start with the Spirit Torment, who's going to cast Mystic Shield, needing a 6, fails with a 5. We'll do Rykonor next. He's going to try and cast Fireball, gets it with a 9.
I'll try and unbind that with the Evocators, needing a 10. Oh, they got a 10. Oh, that's good.
And then the Guardian of Souls will try and cast Channel Death, needing a 5, getting it with an 11.
I think I'll use Xandra's Voidstorm scroll on that to automatically unbind.
Okay, no victory point for me. So I can get all of my movement into one shot. So the Harridans on the left have just moved up normally to try and head off the Stormcast in the middle, while the Blade Guys are advancing towards the Lord Arcanum and the Dracolines. The Spirit Torment ran, so he can project his aura in there. He has got to go into the Deadly Ruin, so he might take damage. And the Guardian of Souls ran as well, and he's following along behind. Then the Hex Wraiths from Rykonor have moved so that they're going to be as close as possible to the Stormcast. The Blade Guys and the Chain Guards are running to keep up with them. So on a 1, the Spirit Torment takes some mortal wounds. He does not. And then we'll be on to the charge phase. I'll do the Hex Wraiths first. Anything but a 3. A 6 is going to get them in. Do Rykonor as well. 4 is enough to get him in. And then the Blade Guys in the middle. A 5. 5 isn't enough, so I will re-roll that into an 8. That's enough. So there you can see the result of my charges. Rykonor and the Hex Wraiths going into the Evocators, while the Blade Guys are going into the Lord Arcanum. And at the start of the combat phase, I'm going to use the Guardian of Souls Cloak of Mist and Shadows to move him a bit. So you can see the Guardian of Souls has teleported to the other side of the tunnel ruin, so you can project his aura to all the units that are going to be in combat, leaving the Harridans a bit in the lurch, but they'll just have to survive. And I think I'll pick the Blade Guys to go first. After much hemming and hawing, I'm going to settle for doing the Blade Guys first, so they all pile in, so they're around the Lord Arcanum, and they'll attack him, and they've got 15 attacks, because they get an extra one for charging. Hitting on 3s, re-rolling everything because the Spirit Torment is within 12. Only 2 misses to re-roll, so they all hit. I only rolled 13 dice, so there's 2 more. Re-roll that miss, so there's 14 hits in total. 14 hits, wounding on 2s because the Guardian of Souls is nearby. Well, there's 4 1s in there, so that's only 10 wounds.
So 10 4+ saves to make. We have failed 6, so he's down to 2 wounds because of his command trait. So the Lord Arcanum is down to 2 wounds, and then I'm going to pick the Evocators to go, and we're going to take a risk and put all their attacks on Rykonor, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to attack the same unit, and they might kill him. We'll do the Riders and the Mount attacks all at the same time, because they didn't charge. These are all 1 damage, and the Rend doesn't matter, so we've got 15 attacks hitting on 3s. That's 10 hits. Wounding on 3s, re-rolling thanks to Empower. So re-roll those fails. We've got 8 wounds.
8 4+ saves. I made 4. It's all looking very average so far. And ignoring on 6s. Oh, ignore 2, so he only takes 2 wounds.
Because he ignored those, I'll put the Lightning Arc on the Hex Wraiths. So 4 dice, 4 pluses do mortal wounds. 2 mortal wounds.
Ignoring on 6s. Oh, I ignored 1. So 1 Hex Wraith takes a wound. So Rykonor's going to pile in very slightly, just sort of shifting around so that he can get within 2 inches of the Lord Arcanum. So he's going to put Fel Reaper on the Lord Arcanum, and his Horse will go into the Evocators. So Rykonor has 4 attacks with Fel Reaper, hitting on 4s, re-rolling 1s because of the Spirit Torment, and 6s do 2 mortal wounds. Well, they all hit, and there's 4 mortal wounds in there. So that will be enough to kill the Lord Arcanum. And then 3 attacks from Rykonor's Horse into the Evocators, again on 4s, re-rolling 1s. Blimey, they're on form, that's they all hit. Wounding on 3s, 3 wounds.
4+ saves, re-rolling 1s because of Mystic Shield. Okay, we only take 1 damage.
And the Hex Race are last to go. They're going to pile in so they can all... They're sort of shifting around so they can all get in range of the Evocators and get within 12 of the Guardian Souls. Not quite in 12 of the Spirit Torment or the Chain Ghast, so no re-rolling, unfortunately. 11 attacks with size, hitting on 4s, 6s do mortal wounds. Well, there's 4 6s and 1 ordinary hit. The ordinary hit wounds on a 2. It does. Then -1.
5 plus save, you're rolling ones. Failed. So that's the prime down to 1 wound so far.
And then 10 attacks from horses hitting on 4s. 1 went out of the box. So that's 7 hits. 7 hits from horses, wounding on 4s. Getting 4.
4 plus saves, rerolling ones. That's 2 more wounds. So the prime's down to 2.
There, the prime's down to 2 wounds, and that'll be it for the turn. No need to make Battleshop tests. I still hold that objective over there, so I get another victory point and go up to 3, and we'll head into Stormcast turn 2.
So on to spellcasting. The Lord of Exorcist will do the Channel Death, needing a 5. He gets that with a 9, so it's another victory point for me at least.
Yeah, I'm miles away, so no unbinding.
And Zandria will try and do Fireball, needing a 5. Failing on the 4. And Spirit Torment is near the Volcanic Ruins, so on a 6 he will take some mortal wounds. No. In my movement phase, both of these units of Secretors ran. We got some good run rolls this turn at least, so I can't complain. But one of the units here have come through the middle of the ruins rather than go out to the middle of the board by themselves, so they're at risk of damage from the flaming terrain, but we'll see. Zandria didn't roll so well, and then the Vanguard Raptors just moved back slightly, so they're still in range. And the Evocator Prime is going to sell his life dearly and try and do a little bit more damage before he goes down. But we'll have the shooting phase first, where the Vanguard Raptors will shoot at the Dreadside Harridans. 3 shots, hitting on 2s, 6s a hit, do 2 mortal wounds instead. Well, we've got 2 normal hits. Wounding on 3s, no, just 1.
1 4 plus save, which I made.
And then in the fight phase, I will pick I get to pick first, so the Evocator Prime will go. He will put all his attacks on Reikenor, because he might kill maybe a Hex Wraith, but then the Guardian Souls probably just bring them back, so it's pretty not worth it. We'll just try and do some damage to the boss man. Including a mount, we have 8 attacks, hitting on 3s. 7 hit. And I'll use my Triumph here, I think, to re-roll failed wounds, because I'm not sure I have a better use for it. Well, that's useful, because we can re-roll those. Oh, well, it's got 7 wounds.
7 4 plus saves. I made 2, so you might die here. Got to deal some damage. 5 go through, ignoring the 6s. I ignore 1, he's down to 1 wound.
Can we finish him off with the Lightning Arc? 2 dice, needing 4s. We've got a mortal wound.
Ignore it on a 6. No, Reikenor goes down.
Well, that's a small success at least.
Yeah, and then I'll do the Hex Race first, and I'm not going to bother piling them in. So 11 attacks on 4s, 6s do mortal wounds. Well, we got 5 6s, so they're very mad. Well, that's definitely enough to kill him. And the Evocator Prime goes down. But that's going to be the end of the turn. And down here, the Stormcast will take the bottom left objective, gain another victory point and go up to 4. And now we're rolling off for Battle Round 3.
Well, I won. And I will go first, mainly because my Secretors will take 2 rounds of fire in the hero phases if I don't.
So we're into Stormcast turn 3.
So for the Ruins, the Secretors are in on 6. No, they're alright. The Spirit Torment, still in some ruins. He's alright as well. Zandria will try and cast Fireball again. Needing a 5. Getting a 9.
The Spirit Torment is in range of trying to 9, needing a 10. Nope.
So the Harridan's the only thing in range, they take D3 mortal wounds. 3.
That's 3 dead Harridans. Lose these 2 and that one.
And the Lord Exorcist will try and channel Death again on 5. Just about.
And the victory point up to 5.
And then all the Secretors have moved around the objective down here with the Lord Exorcist in the middle. The ones that were in the ruins ran just to make sure they could get clear. Zandria also ran and placed herself in the middle there where she's not within an inch of any of the bits of terrain. And finally the Vanguard Raptors just moved back a little bit, but they're all still in range of the Harridans. So we'll have 3 shots hitting on 2s. Well, 2 hits with 2 2s. Wounding on 3s. We got 1.
4 plus save. Failed this time, that's going to wipe the Harridans out. Well, that'll be it for the turn. Stormcast get another victory point and go up to 6. Well, in my turn I gain a command point and go up to 2. The Spirit Torment's going to have to try and avoid another dose of hot. He's fine. And then for spellcasting, well, it doesn't matter what order I do it in because nothing's arranged to combine it. So the Spirit Torment will try and cast the Channel Death, needing 5, gets it with a 7. So I go up to 4 victory points. Do that in a second. And the Guardian of Souls will cast Spectral Law, needing a 6. Oh, he fails with a 2. My turn's been very quick. In my movement phase, everyone ran various amounts. I did spend a command point to get the hex race to go 6 rather than 1, and everyone's just going to do a mad dash for the Stormcast because I am trailing, and unless the Stormcast fail to cast Channel Death, I will lose eventually, and I don't think they're ever going to be able to get over to take the top right objective with only 2 turns left, so I need to at least try to take the objective down the bottom. But that'll be it for Battle Round 3. I gain a victory point at the end of the turn, so I'm trailing 5 to 6 as we roll off for Battle Round 4, where I win the roll-off and I will choose to go first. So we're into Nighthaunt turn 4. Rewind a tiny bit, I forgot to use the Guardian of Souls Cloak of Mist and Shadows, and Will is very kindly letting me do that, so he's just going to move up behind the hex race, probably. Now back into your regularly scheduled 4th battle round. I'm going to gain a command point at the start of my turn, and then I will have the Spirit Torment try. No, I'm going to have the Guardian of Souls cast Spectral Lure, being a 6, gets hit with an 8.
Try and unbind that with Zandria because she's the only one in range to unbind of this. Nope.
So I'll heal that wound on the 1 hex wraith. And then Spirit Torment's going to try and cast Channel Death using 5, gets it with a 12.
I cannot unbind that.
So I gain a victory point and go up to 6. So over here, the Blade Geist and the Hex Wraith moved up normally to get in to try and charge the Vanguard Raptors, and the 2 heroes ran to keep up with them. And over there, the other Blade Geists and the Chaingast ran to try and get into the game. So no shooting. In the charge phase, I'll start with the Hex Wraiths. So that 4 is enough to get one of the Hex Wraiths in at least. But the Vanguard Raptors get to do their Hunting Call ability.
So I get 3 dice. Well, you effectively get 3 shots, 1 each on 6. They do mortal wounds. 2 6s.
Well, I can do some damage at the very least. Give them 6s. Nope, so that's 2 dead Hex Wraiths. Yeah, so I'll lose 2 normal ones.
Yeah, that one was within 6 of the Spirit Torments, fortunately.
Yeah, the Hell Wraith is out of coherency, but he'll be able to pile in. And then the Blade Geist will charge as well, and from the looks of it, the Vanguard Raptors will get to do that ability again, though. So the Blade Geist charge is an 11, that's enough to get them in. So they'll charge in like that.
Yeah, but then we do seem to get to do Hunting Call again, so 3 dice. Another 6, that's 2 damage.
Yeah, and there's nothing not in range of a hero, so that's 2 dead Blade Geists. So 2 of them will die. And then in the combat phase, I think I'll pick the Blade Geist to go first. Actually, no, in the combat phase, first thing the Guardian of Souls uses Cloak of Mist and Shadows. So he's moving just to make sure that he's in aura range. Does make him a target for Zandria, but we'll have to see how it goes. So the Blade Geist will pile in the smidge and go first, and they have 9 attacks with 3 of them. 9 attacks from the Blade Geists. Hitting on 3s, rerolling everything because of the Spirit Torment. Doesn't even need the Spirit Torment, they all hit. Wounding on 2s because of the Guardian of Souls. They'll wound, they're mad.
5s to save. Wow, that's a lot of 5s. That's 3 wounds. So we'll take away this one and that one. It's down to 1 wound. And we're going to pile in this way to make the Hex Wraith's lives harder, and then attack the Blade Geist. So taking into account the Prime's 8th wing that's on his arm, we overall have 4 attacks hitting on 4s, 2 hits, wounding on 3s. Nothing.
And I think the one chap in the end isn't wholly within 12 either, so he just has 2 attacks to this side, hitting on 4s and 6s to do more wounds. He gets a 6.
Oh, that kills off the wound.
And then 2 attacks from his horse on 4s. 2 6s there as well. And 4s, 1 wound.
Another 4+. 8.
And that's it for combat. And the Battletop has the Vanguard Prime has to make, the Raptor Prime has to make a morale test.
6, he will run away. No.
He's fine. And that's the end of the turn. I gain another victory point and go up to 7. And we'll be into Stormcast turn 4.
So I gain a command point, I'll be up to 3. And then we'll try and do a Spirit Storm from Zandria, needing a 7. Nope, not the 4. And we'll try and Channel Death with the Lord Exorcist on a 5. We've got an 11.
Well, might as well try and buy needing a 12. Nope. So that's another victory point up to 7.
Then movement phase, the Raptor Prime will stay in melee. He probably will die, but we'll get to fire a shot before he does so if in this case. And Zandria can't really get any closer than that because of the 3-inch exclusion zone around the Blade Geist. And then the Sectors and the Lord Exorcist are all just going to consolidate around the objective, so they're all in range of it, but hopefully not in charge range of too many Nighthaunt, so they'll struggle to get models on the objective. Then the Raptor Prime will shoot, and he'll shoot at the Hex Wraiths. 1 shot hitting on a 2. Oh, it does a 6, just 2 more wounds.
I'm not trying to ignore some damage, which I don't. Take away the one that's in combat with them. Take away the Hell Wraith then.
And then we're into the charge phase. Zandria is going to declare a charge. 7 is enough. She'll finish there, and then in the fight phase, she's going to blow up all 3 of her Spirit Flasks. That's going to kill the Raptor Prime, but it's going to do damage to all the Nighthaunt around her as well.
Yeah, there'll be some ignoring damage, potentially. So the Blade Geists ignore 2, and then I've got a Hex Wraith, so So only 1's within 6, so I'll do 2 first. Oh, he ignores 1. And then he dies. And the Guardian of Souls doesn't ignore any. Down to 2. So I lose a Bladegeist as well. And Spirit Guardian of Souls is down to 2. And then the Guardian of Souls is going to use his Cloak of Mist and Shadows to go over there. So that he's not in melee range anymore.
And then Zandra can be picked to fight. I think she's just going to move here and attack these 2 Bladegheists. 3 attacks on 3s. They all hit. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds.
4 plus saves. Made 1. Damage.
D3. 3.
Well, there's one guy in range, so... oh, he's dead. And the other one's dead as well. And then the Lone Hexwraith gets to pile in. The Lone Hexwraith will pile out of rounds. He gets in range of the Spirit Torment. 2 attacks on 4s, rolling 1s. They hit. And wounding on 2s. They both wound.
2 4 plus saves. Oh, she failed both and dies.
And that'll be it for the turn and the battle round. So Stormcast get a victory point, go up to 8. Rolling off.
I won, and I will go first.
Yeah, so Stormcast turn 5.
So I'll get command point for what it's worth, and we will try and do
Channel Death.
Channel Death. Got it with an 8.
Try and unbind. Getting a 9, only getting a 6, so it's successful. And that is going to be it, I think, because that will take the Stormcast up to 10 at the end of this turn, and I can only get a maximum of 2 more. I don't think I can get on the objective. So I'll call that a Stormcast victory. We'll recap that game for you now. So that was the game for issue 76 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine. How do you think that went?
Honestly, a lot better than I thought it was going to, given the early game performance of my Vocators and Lord Arcanum, who just got annihilated. And yeah, I suppose they killed Reikenor, but that took 3 of Vocators' worth of attacks over 2 rounds, I suppose. Overall, I actually think that move over there of mine was a mistake. I got an objective and a victory point, but I had overreached myself, I guess, when we were taking the double turn into account, because you got the double turn and swamp those units. But maybe actually you overcommitted to killing them. You weren't able to then redeploy quick enough to get to the other objective.
Yeah, I think that was the case. But that said, I probably would have needed to commit my forces all to one side if you were splitting up. And I think if your Vanguard Raptors hadn't done so much damage and survived, maybe I would have been able to get on the objective in the final turn.
Obviously, if you had been able to get anything to charge my Secretors, I would have just done power to shields and tried to weather the storm. And obviously, Secretors can hit back quite hard as well, so probably by that point it would have been enough. But yeah, the Vanguard Raptors did certainly do their worth.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, probably what clutched it is that you had a Void Storm Scroll, which is auto-unbind.
Yeah, neither of us failed our rolls to cast the spell at any point. We didn't manage to unbind it with dice either. If I was being really lame in this game, I could have brought 2 Nighthaunt Cantles and Aeron Stormsire and had 3 Voidstorm Scrolls and just cancelled your victory points, which sort of shows up a slight flaw in the way the game works, I guess.
It would be interesting to try and have it so you can cast it an unlimited number of times, but I think that would just... you'll probably just end up taking one objective and then turtling up, and whoever has the most wizards left will win eventually. Probably.
Yeah. I suppose because the objectives are so far apart, it does mean that you have to think carefully about what you're deploying to which objective, which does mean that the spell then ends up becoming the sort of the tiebreaker, because you can reliably get victory points for objectives, but you know, if you fail to cast that spell or your opponent manages to unbind one of yours, suddenly you're behind and you need to, I guess, fight harder to try and make the objectives work. So.
But also is that I think we've usually whenever there's been one objective that you get to defend, you tend to do better, because I mean there were multiple objectives and I took one really quickly. Dealt with your fast units fairly swiftly. But then you tend to do better at defending one objective, and it's harder for me to break. It's going to be hard for me to break in. Maybe if I'd had loads of chain rasps or something and just swamp them all onto the objective, I could have taken it. It might not have been a bad idea to try, but chain rasps are slower than the units I had.
When you sent all your units after those 2 units and they were definitely dead, I was just thinking, that's 4 of my troops' choices gone. But
right, it's also 2 of your wizards as well.
Yeah, and wizards are obviously very important in this game. If I'd won the roll-off for turn 2, I would have actually sent them away from there and into the middle and probably tried to combination of shooting spells and their charge, trying to destroy or heavily damage some of your units that were in the middle at that point while you were out of position. But it was nice to see what the Vanguard Raptors can do, I suppose. Their actual shooting wasn't that effective, but...
Yeah, they did better overwatching than actual shooting.
Yeah, it does show that it's dangerous to charge them. Yeah, and yet again, the Lord Arcanum on Dracoline did nothing at all. I think he's probably the most unlucky model in my collection. Always dies before he does anything at all. And I probably was lucky to kill Reikenor, to be honest. I mean, I did put a lot of attacks on him, but it also meant that you then didn't have him to support the Bladegeist, so that was quite important, because they're 5+2 more damages.
And he's also really fast and can do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did consider taking Lady Ollander or Kurdos, but they're probably too slow.
Yeah.
And I also know for a fact that this is just a minor setback. We got enough of the death magic juice from the Purple Sun to build the Mortis Engine anyway.
Well, given that we know the Mortis Engine model is coming, I suppose canonically the Nighthaunt should have won this scenario.
Well, it's just going to take us a little longer.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, not too much more to say about this game or this issue. So if you did like this content, do leave a like and subscribe. We have heard rumours that maybe Stormbringer isn't coming out quite as soon as we believed, so we will hope maybe we will manage to finish this before it comes out. We'll see. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.